Hello students, this is your Mr. GST who actually makes GST a good and simple tax for you. In this video, we are going to revise quickly demands and recovery chapter. So let us proceed with this chapter without wasting much time. So first of all, understand in this chapter we are going to see, sir, if at all tax has been short paid or not at all paid or erroneously refunded or ITC has been wrongly availed and utilized, in such cases how do you are going to recover that? And please understand these things can be because of like bona fide situations, or this may be the intention to evade taxes and because of that you did not do that. Okay, so it may be a normal case, it may be a fraud or suppression cases. That means willful evasion of tax and unintentional. Okay, so section 73 deals with bona fide mistakes, 74 deals with willful evasion of taxes. Okay, now first let us go with section 73. Section 73, sir, whenever you feel like there is non-payment of tax or short payment of tax or erroneously refunded or ITC wrongly availed or utilized for the reasons other than fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of facts, then the proper officer will issue a show cause notice asking that why you should not pay this much amount of tax. And please understand, before serving the show cause notice, proper officer shall communicate the details of what is the tax, interest and penalty ascertained by him, and the show cause notice also will specify the amount of all these things and the amount of tax payable along with interest under section 50 at 18% per annum, whatever is there, that will be specified, and the notice, what are the reasons for giving this notice, that will be mentioned. Okay, right, sir, within what time we should issue this notice? Please understand, the notice should be issued, actually the notice should be issued at least 3 months prior to the time specified for passing the order under this section. The time limit given for passing the order under this section is 3 years from the due date of furnishing annual return of the financial year to which this demand pertains or from the date of erroneous refund. So suppose for example, sir, this particular order is related to 24-25 financial year. What is the due date for filing annual return of 24-25 financial year? 31st December 2025. Okay, so in that case, from that 3 years, within 3 years, that is 31st December 2028, within that you should pass any order under this particular section 73. So for passing the order, first you should give show cause notice, correct? So show cause notice should be given at least 3 months before completion of this time limit. That means by 30th September 2028, they should have given the show cause notice. So I repeat, order under this section 73 should be given within 3 years from the due date of filing annual return of that particular financial year to which this order pertains to. So before finishing the due date of this passing the order 3 years, at least 3 months prior, because you also need some time for processing, giving show cause notice, hearing the taxpayer, all that stuff, correct? So at least 3 months prior to the completion of this due date, you should give the show cause notice. Simple. Okay. So we can say in short, time limit for issuing show cause notice is 2 years 9 months from that particular period. Any person to whom the notice has been issued for any period commits such default in some other period also, then the proper officer may issue mere statement containing the details of the tax, not paid, short paid, all the stuff, instead of issuing a detailed notice. That means to the person whom we are issuing the show cause notice for any subsequent periods, etc., for the same reasons, etc., he has not paid taxes, short paid or not paid, or erroneous refund, or ITC wrongly availed or utilized, all these things. Sir, in such cases also, when we have already given a notice to him, sir, now if you are giving any statement, that is more than sufficient, giving the reasons. What are the reasons for issuing this statement? Okay, so that is sufficient. So detailed notice not required. Okay, that is regarding show cause notice time limit. Here the interesting part is, if the person who is chargeable with tax, who is like not paid, short paid, all that conditions, again and again, let us not repeat that, not paid, short paid, all that. So section 73 cases, sir, he is voluntarily coming and paying the tax along with the interest under section 50, sir, then department shall not issue any notice and no penalty also. So simple, before issuing the show cause notice, sir, it's before issuing the show cause notice itself, the findings have been clear and it is understood by the taxpayer, yes, he did a mistake, then he is voluntarily coming up and paying the tax as well as interest. Please understand, in that case, automatically the show cause notice will not be issued, no penalty will be imposed. Okay. Voluntarily payment, how he is doing, he may be doing on his own or as per the proper officer determined, or even if the mistake is pointed out by the department before issuing the show cause notice also, it is absolutely fine, and the proper officer will issue an acknowledgement accepting that payment. And where the person has made partial payment or decides to file any submission against the proposed liability, he may make such submission in the prescribed form. The option is available only for reasons other than fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of facts, all that stuff. So the concept is what, sir, you can make the voluntarily payment happily, and once you make the voluntarily payment, the proper officer will give you the acknowledgement. Okay, and if at all you are making partial payment, and any partial payment, or suppose like what, let us assume they said 10 lakhs plus interest, all that stuff, and you are challenging that you want, no sir, this should be 8 lakhs, all that stuff, then you can give your submission, sir, this is what my response, so I am liable only for this much amount, like that you can give your submission. Okay, next, so if the proper officer feels that the amount paid by the person falls short of the actual amount, he can issue a show cause notice in respect of which the shortfall has happened. As I told you, sir, proper officer has given, he's feeling 10 lakhs, but the taxpayer is giving only 8 lakhs and the interest, all this stuff. So proper officer feels like, no, there is a shortfall of 2 lakhs, all that. With respect to that 2 lakhs, he can give the notice. Okay, so whatever the proper officer feels that this is different, this is the shortfall, all that, for that amount, he can give you notice. Okay, so simple. Before giving the notice, happily make voluntary payment along with interest. So escape show cause notice, escape penalty. Simple. So here, after issuing the show cause notice, please understand the payment of tax after issuance of show cause notice also, if they are doing at least, sir, before the issuance of show cause notice, if he is missing the opportunity to pay tax, as I told, before issuing the show cause notice, if you pay, there is no penalty straight away. Whatever the applicable interest is there, that much you pay and close it. But suppose you have missed out, show cause notice has been issued, and you are paying the tax demanded along with interest under section 50 within 30 days from show cause notice. That means straight away after seeing the show cause notice, you are not giving any reply, you are understanding, yes sir, I am liable to pay this, and you are paying that within 30 days, then all the proceedings and the penalties will be dropped. So no penalty will be imposed and no proceedings will be continued except prosecution under section 132. That means except sending you to jail, any other proceedings will get dropped. Okay, so that is the important thing there. Now, sir, show cause notice is given and any statement has been issued, whatever it is, and the person, the taxpayer, is of the view that he is not liable to pay all that stuff regarding show cause notice, then he will give a representation. No, sir, I am not liable for this. These are the reasons. Check these reasons. If proper officer is satisfied, no problem, he will drop the show cause notice. Otherwise, he is willing, after the representation, he is passing the order. Whatever he feel like, okay, this much tax you should pay, this much interest you should pay. No, 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 I am not believing your representation, or your representation is not correct. Like that, if he feels, he will pass the order giving the tax amount, interest amount, and also the penalty. Here the penalty will be, sir, 10% of the tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. Simple. Whenever you are paying this, it doesn't matter, the penalty will remain same. Okay, this is not section 74, this is section 73. So quantum of penalty will be 10% or 10,000, whichever is higher. Hope I am clear. Okay, so that is section 73 for you. And sir, in case of non-payment of self-assessed tax or amount collected as representing tax, the only opportunity for paying the same is without any penalty is to pay it along with interest within 30 days from the due date of such payment. The option to pay such tax before issuance of show cause notice or within 30 days of show cause notice to avoid penalty is not available. This is very, very, very important point. Please be careful here. That is, suppose there is non-payment of you have already assessed tax, sir, my liability is this much. That amount or any amount collected as representing tax from the customer, sir, that whatever is there, that should be paid within the due date, all that stuff. Or if you are paying it after the due date, along with the interest you should pay. You cannot bring that here in section 73, sir, before issuing the show cause notice or within 30 days from show cause notice, I will. That means in these two cases, straight away penalty will come if we identify that you have self-assessed the tax but you did not pay. Of course, not a fraudulent case, there is no intention to evade taxes, or you have collected something as tax but you did not pay, where yes, there is no intention to do fraud, then straight away we will definitely charge penalty of 10% or 10,000, whichever is higher. There is no relaxation with respect to penalty if we catch, if the department catches. If you are only identifying and paying without we pointing out or without we catching you, then you can pay along with interest even after the due date, no problem. But if we catch, there will be penalty for sure. Okay, that is what the point. So penalty under section 79 subsection 73 subsection 9 is mandatory and no waiver. These payments are treated differently than the amounts mentioned in 73 subsection 1. So I repeat, if there is any non-payment, short payment or erroneously refunded, ITC wrongly availed or utilized, then yes, all these things fine. But here this situation is different. You have self-assessed your tax but you did not pay, or you have collected something representing tax but you did not pay. In that cases, straight away you pay on your own before department identifying it. you will escape with interest. But if department identifies, then there is straight away penalty, no waiver, nothing. Okay, that will be mandatory. So next, one more important point. So here when we are talking about uh, amount collected as representing tax, all that, what does it mean, sir? Actually there is no tax chargeable on that transaction, sir, but you have collected by mistake, that you should have deposited with the government. Okay, that is what the concept we are discussing here. And one more important point is, please understand, sir, 73 subsection 11, that is like you are self-assessing the tax and you are paying it late, that will be invoked only when section 73 is invoked. So 73 are generally not invoked in case of delay in filing the returns. That means GSTR1 you have filed, GSTR3B if you don't file, that means nothing but you have assessed your tax in GSTR1, you are not paying that. Because of that, they will not straight away invoke section 73. Sir, there is, that means before they invoking, you filed returns, everything. Delay in filing GSTR3B, because delay in filing you have already paid interest, all that stuff, closed your liabilities. Just because there is delay in filing the return GSTR3B, they will not invoke section 73. That is what we are trying to tell here. Okay, because you have already, after delay in filing return also, you have paid tax and interest, so no section 73 will be invoked. If at all they want, they may impose a general penalty under section 125, but nobody is doing that. Department is not having that practice right now. If there is delay in filing the returns because of which taxes are paid late, sir, they are charging interest straight away. Because of delay in filing the return, they cannot invoke section 73. Okay, next, as we have seen, what is the time limit to pass the order? Time limit to pass the order is within 3 years from the due date of furnishing annual return of the relevant financial year, or if it is an erroneous refund case, within 3 years from the date of erroneous refund. So that we have seen. So with this we are done with section 73. Hope you are clear with this section. So coming to section 74, it is nothing but straight away opposite scenarios, sir, where there is short payment or non-payment or erroneous refund, ITC, wrongly availed, utilized with an intention to do fraud or willful misstatement or suppression of facts. The entire story is same. Proper officer will communicate, yes, along with the tax, interest amounts, etc., etc. And the taxpayer also feels, yes, I am liable here. Yes, I am liable to make payment here, and he is making payment, or he is not making the payment, order is given, everything is the same story. If you see here, sir, first they will use show cause notice. When the show cause notice should be given, and in show cause notice, obviously the reasons, all the stuff, and the amount, whatever has been determined, tax, interest, penalty, should be communicated. What is the time limit for giving show cause notice? If you see, the time limit for giving show cause notice, earlier in section 73 we have seen 3 months at least before the completion of the due date for the order. Here 6 months prior to the due date for completion of the order. Here order should be given within what time? Na? Sir, order should be given within 5 years from the due date of furnishing the annual return. There we have seen 3 years, here 5 years for the order. There for show cause notice, 3 months before the order deadline. Here 6 months before the order deadline. That means show cause notice deadline here will be 4 years and 6 months. Simple. Okay. So I repeat, in section 73, within 3 years you should pass the order, due date from the file annual return of the relevant financial year. Here within 5 years. Okay. Here show cause notice 3 months before the deadline. Here show cause notice 6 months before the deadline. That means here 2 year 9 months is the show cause notice time limit. Here 4 years 6 months will be the show cause notice time limit. Hope you are clear with that. Next, here see, the interesting part is, before issuing the show cause notice itself, the taxpayer is saying, yes sir, yeah, I am liable for paying all these things. Then he should pay the tax amount, he should pay the interest under section 50 and penalty 15%. There is no penalty there in 73, but here you should pay penalty. Okay, penalty 15% of the tax. Then show cause notice will not be issued, all the proceedings will be dropped except prosecution. No sir, you have missed out that opportunity. The officer has passed the show cause notice. Now what you should do, you should pay tax, interest, penalty 25% within 30 days from show cause notice. That means once show cause notice is issued, you are realizing, yes, I am supposed to pay. Then within 30 days you are paying. Within 30 days you are paying. Then in such case, sir, pay 25% penalty. Or you are feeling, no sir, I am not liable to pay all the stuff. If you feel like that, you give any representation you want, you give all your representations, your reasons why you have not paid all that stuff, sir, then the representation will be considered. Proper officer accordingly will pass the order. If he feels, yes, all these representations are correct, he will just drop the show cause notice. Otherwise he will pass the order giving the tax, interest and penalty amount. He will pass the order. Now after passing the order, you feel like, yo, I should have just paid everything and get out of this, I did a mistake, like that. If you want to make payment now, pay tax, interest, penalty 50% of the tax amount, whatever is there, 50% penalty within 30 days from the issuance of order. Then all the proceedings, same thing, will be dropped except prosecution under section 132. Okay, hope I am clear. So I repeat, please understand. Here I have given one table. Listen, this time limits we have discussed, 5 years and all. See, simple. What is the difference between 73 and 74? Now, if you look at the tax amount paid before show cause notice, in 73 there is no penalty, but here 15% penalty will be there. Sir, notice is issued and within 30 days I am making the payment. In section 73 again no penalty. That means in section 73 before show cause notice you can make payment, or within 30 days from show cause notice also you can make payment, no penalty, you can escape. But 74 before show cause notice 15% penalty, after show cause notice within 30 days 25% penalty. Here 73 the order is passed. Now once the order is passed, whether you are making the payment within 30 days or not, all that stuff, sir, penalty will be standard 10% of tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. But in section 74, sir, within 30 days of order if you pay that, 50% penalty will be applicable. Otherwise 100% of the tax payable will be the penalty. Okay, this is very very important, like summary of 73 and 74, easy for you. Okay, hope you are clear with this 73 74 differences also, right? So fine, let us move on to the next one. Sir, who shall pass the order, sir? Who shall give the show cause notice and order as per this section 73 or 74? That purely depends upon the monetary limits, money involved in that particular situation. Sir, in that particular situation, if the money involved is 0 to 20 lakhs, 0 to 20 lakhs, then the superintendent of central excise, central tax, sorry, not central excise, central tax. So SI will give the will have the powers to give show cause notice or to pass the order. Next, sir, if it is from 20 lakhs, if it is ranging from 20 lakhs to 2 crores, then the deputy commissioner or assistant commissioner will have the power. Okay. No, sir, it is more than 2 crores, then the additional commissioner or joint commissioner will have the power to pass the show cause notice and the order, issue the show cause notice and order. That is what the concept. Okay, the authority. Next, suppose if there is any notice which has been issued, if the noticee, that is the opposite fellow, if the taxpayer has got different show cause notices for similar issues and he made answerable to different level of authorities, then the commissioner within a commissionerates, and such show cause notices should be adjudicated by the adjudicating authorities who is competent to decide a case involving the highest amount of tax. That means, sir, different level of authorities have given show cause notices. That means some amount is related to like 15 lakhs, some amount is related to one financial year, it is related to 1 crore, another financial year it is related to maybe 3 crores, 4 crores, like that. Sir, if different show cause notices has been given, in such case, sir, he is made answerable to different adjudicating authorities within the same commissionerate. So who should take up this? Now, see, all the show cause notices, sir, he will be made answerable only to one adjudicating authority, that is nothing but who has the charge of highest tax involved. That means which notice has the highest tax, that officer will adjudicate all these things. So that officer will be the person who will be one point contact to the taxpayer, right? So that is what the concept. Next, there are general provisions. So now if you see the general provisions relating to determination of tax, see the general points which the officer has to keep in mind. Now, if any court or tribunal has given any stay on issuing show cause notice or issuance of the order, the period of such stay will be obviously excluded from calculating the time limit of show cause notice and order. Okay, court has given stay order, don't issue show cause notice or don't pass any order, the period of stay will be excluded from computing the time limit of show cause notice or order, that 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, 9 months and 4 years, 6 months, that case. Next, sir, when a notice has been issued considering that it is section 74 case, but the court or tribunal has concluded that there is no substantial evidence confirming that there is a willful evasion or fraud or suppression of facts, then this case will be dealt as if the proper officer has given the notice under section 73, that is normal cases. Okay. Next, sir, any order which has to be issued by the department because of the directions given by any court or tribunal, then such order shall be passed within 2 years from the date of communication of the said direction from the court or tribunal. And before passing any order, please understand, an opportunity of being heard should be given for any person who is chargeable with tax or penalty, uh, or if the decision has having any adverse effect in the proposed action to be taken against that particular person. Simple, you are taking any action against any person, obviously you should give him an opportunity of being heard. Next, personal hearing can be urgent if the sufficient cause has been shown by the taxpayer, but it cannot be urgent more than 3 times. And whenever the order is passed by the department, the order should always be a speaking order. That means it should list out all the relevant facts and the basis of the decision for which the order has been passed. Next, amount of tax along with the interest and penalty should not exceed the amount mentioned in the notice, and the ground should not go beyond what is mentioned in the notice. Okay, so that means whatever the notice, whatever you have spoken regarding that, only you should pass the order. In the show cause notice, you should not have given something else. In the order, you should have not passed something else. The amounts and the reasons, whatever has been given in show cause notice, the same thing should have been reflected in the order also. Okay, that is what the point. Next, why this odd video is not clear? Next, it is like when the appellate authority or tribunal modifies any amount of tax, then automatically the proper officer should also modify the amount of interest and penalty accordingly. Okay, and sir, see, if at all in the show cause notice, if the interest amount is not mentioned, that will be payable even though that is mentioned or not once the order is passed in the tax liability. Okay, regarding the tax liability, if the order is passed, interest is obviously payable, whether it is section 73 or 74, whatever whether it is mentioned in the notice or not, it doesn't matter. Whether it is specified in the order or not, it doesn't matter. And if the order is not issued within 3 years or 5 years time, as we have seen, that means the proceedings are deemed to be concluded, then it is all about tata bye bye to the department. Now another interesting aspect here is, see, when any issue is with respect to appellate authority or appellate tribunal or high court has given a decision where they have passed an order, the decision which is prejudicial to the interest of revenue, that means against the department, and the department is going for a further appeal. Please understand, when any order is given in any level, whether it is adjudicating authority or appellate, whether it is appellate authority or tribunal or high court, sir, that is being challenged by the department in the higher level, and sir, that is pending. Now the decision between two courts, whatever is there, the time period, that will be excluded from calculating this 3 years and 5 years time limit. Okay, that means, if for example, sir, an order is passed by the officer and I am the taxpayer, I am going to tribunal also giving like decision in favor with the taxpayer, then again department is going to high court also giving decision in favor of taxpayer, that is against the department. Now you are going to supreme court. See, high court has given the order now. At least you should have closed that issue by that time. No sir, you are going to supreme court, department is going to supreme court. Now the order of high court and order of supreme court, if you see, there is 4 years gap. That 4 years gap will be excluded from calculating the 3 years 5 years time limit. Okay, so that means extra 4 years time you will get for passing the order. That is what the simple point. So if it is 3 years or 5 years, for that extra what we will get, we'll add 4 years, like that. Shall we proceed? So that is what the concept. Next, sir, if any self-assessed tax remains unpaid wholly or partly, and regarding which the written under section 39, the 3B has been filed, that will be recovered under the provisions of section 79. So any self-assessed tax which remains unpaid wholly or partly because of the return you have filed under GSTR 3B, recovery shall be done under section 39. So here when I say that self-assessed tax will remain unpaid, what does it mean? Now please understand, you have given something in GSTR 1, something else in GSTR 3B. In 1 GSTR 1, your liability is 10 lakhs. In 3B, you have given only 4 lakhs. So because of this, sir, there is a mismatch in the tax liability, mismatch in the self-assessed tax. Then they will start recovery proceedings under section 79, recovering the tax amount under section 79. But before that, the proper officer will first send a communication. Mr. Registered person, you have this much of difference in your GSTR 1 and 3B. What are the reasons, like that? Asking your explanation, he will send you the notice. Now, section 79 recovery proceedings will be initiated only when you fail to reply that. Or you are liable to make payment but you did not make payment. Or you gave reasons which are not satisfactory. You failed to give proper reasons. Okay. Either you did not reply at all, or you did not make payment when you are liable to pay, or you gave the reasons which are not satisfactory, you failed to give the proper reasons. Okay, in such cases they will initiate section 79. Okay, Next, sir, when the penalty is imposed under section 73 or 74, no other penalty shall be imposed under any other section for this particular act or omission. For this particular mistake, you are imposing 73, 74 penalties, then no penalties under any other sections. That is what the point. Now there are some circulars here. Look at this. Sir, important one, first one. Sir, if a show cause notice is issued under section 74 for the tax not paid, short paid, or erroneous refund, or whatever ITC, wrong leveled ITC, the appellate authority or court determines that charges are not sustainable due to lack of evidences. Then what shall be the time period for redetermining the tax, interest, penalty, all that? See, understand, section 75 subsection 3 provides an order is required to be issued in pursuance of the directions of appellate authority that has to be issued within 2 years from the date of communication and the said direction. So please understand, the case is under section 74, show cause notice is under section 74, taxpayer has challenged it, and the taxpayer has challenged it, and the court or tribunal said yes, this is section 73 case, not section 74. Now proper officer has to redetermine the tax, interest, penalty within 2 years from the date of such direction given by the appellate authority or tribunal or court. Okay, fine. And here one interesting aspect, if you see, very important aspect. Sir, how the amount payable by the noticee, that is the taxpayer, deeming the notice to have been issued under section 73 shall be recomputed or redetermined by the proper officer as per section 75 subsection 2. Now first of all, what we should see now, sir, whether the show cause notice issued initially, first what we should see what is happening. 74 notice went to court, court said, court or tribunal, whatever it is, sir, they said it is not 74 case, it is 73 case only. Now proper officer has to determine the tax liability, correct, and pass the order. Within 2 years he should pass the order. Now sir, for that first thing what we have to see now, sir, initial show cause notice has been given. No, initial show cause notice under section 74, we should see that whether it has been issued within time limit of section 73. The answer is yes. Then the entire amount of the said demand in the show cause notice would be recovered and under the redetermined amount. Let us assume first I gave show cause notice for 10 lakh rupees under section 74. Now the court said no sir, this is 73. So okay, fine, I will redetermine the amount under section 73. So let us assume, we have assumed it is like we have redetermined etc 10 lakhs with applicable interest or penalty, or because penalty will change now, 73 74 penalty will change, or we have redetermined amount itself has changed, 8 lakhs we have understood, that we will recover, no problem. No sir, the notice first initially whatever the show cause notice has been issued under section 74, that has been issued after the time limit of section 73. Section 73 notice time limit is what? 2 years and 9 months. After that you have issued the notice, in that case what will happen? Automatically the proceeding shall be dropped because of the limitation given in section 73. Okay, that is the interesting fact here. Another important thing is, look at this, another important thing is, so here the another important thing is, sir, if at all show cause notice under section 74 has been issued for multiple financial years, imagine for section 23 24 24 25 25 26, for 3 financial years the officer gave the show cause notice, but in that, sir, for 20 we have understood now it is not section 74 73 in the order, the court has determined it is not section 74, it is section 73. If you see financial year 23 24 notice, 73 time limit is over, 24 25 financial year also 73 time limit over, and only 25 26 only time limit is still there, show cause notice whatever has been issued. Okay, now sir, 3 financial years, I repeat, 3 financial years they give show cause notice, where the time limit for 2 financial years has been over under section 73, 1 financial year section 73 time limit is still there. Only for that 1 financial year the proper officer has to determine now the tax, interest and penalty, the tip. Okay, tax, interest, penalty. For remaining financial years where the time limit is over, that is because of limitation, nothing shall be recovered from the taxpayer. That is what the concept. Hope it is clear for you. Very important point. So please have a look at this. If you want, just pause the video for a moment and just look at this point and read. So with this we are done with that particular clarification also. Very important, please be careful there. Next, another clarification. So this clarification I'll explain you in simple terms. See, first of all, what is the story here now? The doubt is, a person is issuing fake invoices to another person. First, whether this issuing the fake invoice, the transaction is it treated as a supply? See, there is no supply of goods or services. How can you call it a supply? So it is not a supply. Next, sir, whether the amount, the demand and recovery can be made. Let us assume Gajini is issuing fake invoices to Rajini. Can we recover the taxes from Gajini under section 73 or 74 is the concept. And whether any penal action against Gajini in the example can be taken. That is what the doubt. See, first of all, issuing fake invoices is not a supply. Second thing, the person who is issuing the fake invoices, sir, he is doing a offense which is given in section 122, so he will be liable for penal action under section 122. Section 73-74 cannot be invoked here. 73-74 cannot be invoked here because here supply itself is not happening. Okay, there is not like a short paid or not paid or erroneous refund, wrongly availed ITC, utilized, all that stuff. Sir, that is not such scenario here. So 73-74 will not come into picture. So this is one side of the story. Next, another doubt arises is, sir, Gajini is issuing fake invoices to Rajini and Rajini is actually supplying goods or services to Ajit and using that ITC. Now, as I already discussed, sir, Gajini will be subjected to section 122 penalty. Okay, section 122 penalty because there is no actual supply, is issuing fake invoices, which is an offense committed as per section 122. Next, what Rajini is doing? Sir, Rajini is wrongly availing ITC, correct? Sir, he is wrongly availing ITC. This comes under section 74. So, section 74 is applicable right now because Rajini actually makes a supply and is utilizing the ITC which he has taken from fake invoices. That ITC is using. So, wrongly he is availing and utilizing the ITC. So, section 74 will be invoked here against Rajini. Okay, that is another side of the story. Next, sir, what if Gajini is issuing fake invoices to Rajini and Rajini is issuing fake invoices to Ajit? Please understand. Here Gajini case again, sir, because he is issuing fake invoices, 73-74 will not come into picture. Straight away section 122. Here Rajini also, he did not actually make a supply and utilize this fake invoices ITC. So there is no wrong availment and utilization of ITC. Here mainly again there is no supply. He is also supplying fake invoices. Again the offense committed as per section 122. Here also section 122 will come into picture again. Okay, not section 73 or 74. That is what the concept, that is what the clarification all about. Hope it is clear for you. Just go through this once. Okay, hope you are clear with these issues. This is second issue and this is third issue. Fine, you can just check the soft copy in our Telegram channel. Now let us move on to the next one. Remaining things you can just go through. So any person who is retaining the benefit of the transactions under section 122 the offenses, that fellow will be liable for penalty under section 122 subsection 1A. And anybody who is like involved in this particular transactions, for all those people, sir, section 122 subsection 1A we will see in offenses and penalties chapter. Okay, next 132 may be invoked in case of this wrongful or fraudulent ITC utilization or invoices, all the stuff without supply, subject to certain conditions and all the stuff, facts. Fake invoices, so prosecution also will come into picture based upon the facts and circumstances of the case. That is 132 we know. Right, next let us move on to section 76, tax collected but not deposited. Tax collected but not deposited. So now this is all about, see, anything you collect in the name of tax, that you should definitely deposit to the government. If you have not deposited that to the government, the proper officer shall issue a show cause notice to you asking for the reasons why we should not invoke 76 and charge so much of tax interest penalty on you, all that stuff. The interesting point here is, if we are issuing show cause notice under section 76, no time limit is applicable. Please be careful, no time limit is applicable for show cause notice under section 76. Something is collected in the name of tax but you have not deposited to the government, and the penalty is 100%. Okay, there is another interesting aspect, 100% penalty will be there. Suppose if you want to make any representation, no sir I have any representation, make the representation. After considering the representation, proper officer will determine the tax liability accordingly, and interest will be charged under section 50 from the date of collection of tax till the date of deposit of that tax. Okay, because tax itself need not be collected there, you have collected. See, you should not argue that sir that is not a taxable supply, all that. Then why did you collect tax in the name of tax? Okay, so you have collected something in the name of tax, that should be deposited to the government. Okay, interest will come from date of collection till the date of deposit, and penalty will be 100%. No time limit for show cause notice, but there is a time limit for passing the order. as of course before passing the order the opportunity of being heard will be given, and the order shall be passed within 1 year from the date of issue of notice. But suppose if the show cause notice is challenged in any court or tribunal, the period of stay whatever has been granted, that will be excluded in calculating that 1 year. And whatever the order is passed by the department, obviously always it will be a speaking order which will be setting out the relevant facts and the basis for which this decision has been taken. And whatever the amount is paid, suppose if that is to be adjusted against any liability, for example 12% is the tax, you have collected 18%, then 12% will be adjusted for the tax liability, and balance 6% whatever is there, that will be created to consumer welfare fund, or it will be refunded to the person who has borne the incidence. Okay, further that fellow has to apply for refund, that's a different story. Okay, so this is what all about section 76, where tax has been collected but not deposited to the government. In the name of tax, whatever you collect, you should deposit it to the government. Next, sir, tax wrongly collected and paid to the central government or state government, sir, where 77 section, where registered person has considered a transaction as intrastate supply but understood later on it is interstate supply, or he is treating it as interstate supply, later on he felt it is intrastate supply, then whatever the amount of tax they have paid earlier, that will be refunded in such manner. In refunds chapter we have seen. Okay, and the refund claim under this section can be claimed. Okay, and the person is not required to pay any interest on the actual amount. Simple, you have to pay CGST, SGST, you have paid IGST. Claim IGST refund, this CGST, SGST amount actual liability you pay, and there is no interest on such payments. That is what the point. Section 77. Simple. Next, the recovery proceedings, section 78 and 79. Sir, what is this section 78 and 79, the recovery proceedings? If you see first section 78, simple one. Sir, any amount which is payable by the taxable person should be paid within a period of 3 months from the date of order. So within 3 months from the date of order, you should make the payment. If at all there is failure to do that, then the proper officer will initiate the recovery proceedings. And if it is in the interest of the revenue, proper officer, after recording the reasons in writing, may initiate the recovery proceedings even before completion of that 3 months. That is very, very important here. Sir, generally after 3 months, they will initiate the recovery proceedings. But if the department feels, no, this fellow will fly away from India, or this fellow will sell all the properties, etc., etc., if it is in the interest of revenue for the reasons to be recorded in writing, okay, the proper officer should initiate the recovery proceedings even before completion of 3 months. Okay, that is what the point. So how do they recover? As per section 79, if you see, different modes of recovery has been given here. So here if you see, if the amount payable by the taxpayer is not paid within the time limits, then the recovery proceedings will be initiated. And please understand, recovery can be done even from the distinct persons, because this is PAN based recovery. So the officer can opt for any of the options which are available in section 79. So nothing but, see, for example, any amount which we are supposed to pay, that is the department is supposed to pay to the taxpayer, from that we can deduct the amount, or by detaining his goods like any movable property, all that, and selling them, or directing any person who is liable to make payment to the defaulter, that is the taxpayer, we are calling as defaulter here. Sir, any amount which is payable by any person to the defaulter, that amount we can ask straight away, make that payment to us. Okay, so the debtors of the taxpayer or the bank accounts, all that stuff, so we can ask them to pay the amount to the tax department, or even attaching the property belonging to the defaulter and selling it and recovering it. Okay, so one by one let us see this and all you can just read and manage. Just I'll go through that roughly so that you will have a fair idea of that. Recovery by deducting the amount which is owed to him. So the amount payable by such person shall be deducted from the any money which is owed by the government to such defaulter. Suppose he has to pay us 10 lakhs and we have to pay some 12 lakhs refund, something is there for him, from that we can deduct, or any 2 lakhs is payable by the government to him, that we can deduct. So what we have to pay to him, from that we will just deduct what he has to pay to us. That is one way. Next, recovery by sale of goods which are under the control of proper officer. Sir, we can detain and sell any goods belonging to the defaulter by following the option called auction. Okay, so the option called auction, including e-auction. E-auction is also possible. Sir, first before that what the proper officer has to do is he has to prepare the list of inventory and estimate his market value, and based on how much we are supposed to recover from him, based on that we have to sell the goods. Let us assume we have 1 crore worth goods with us and his liability is only 20 lakhs. We should not sell all the goods worth 1 crore. Okay, so that way, sir, you should plan in such a way where you are doing the auction to recover the tax liabilities including the administrative expenses. Okay, the proper officer shall cancel the auction process if the defaulter is making the payment before the issuance of notice of auction. So before giving notice for auction, if the taxpayer is making the payment, then the proper officer will cancel the auction. Okay, so now coming to garnishee proceedings. Sir, what are garnishee proceedings? The proper officer by way of notice in writing may require any other person. So garnishee proceeding means any person who is liable to make payment to the defaulter, or who may likely become liable to make payment to the defaulter, or who is holding right now money of the defaulter, or who is likely to hold the money of the defaulter. For those people, the proper officer will give notice saying that you are supposed to make payment to us instead of to the defaulter. And now, sir, that opposite fellow who is receiving that notice is bound to make payment to the taxation department, otherwise he will be liable to the tax department. Okay, so if such notice is issued to the post office or banking company or insurance company, post office or banking company, insurance company says that, it should not say that, sir, the receipt is not there, bank receipt is not there, passbook is not there, like that formalities and all you should not talk. Okay, so they should follow this, they should comply this without insisting to produce any passbook, deposit receipt or policy or any other documents. Okay, next, if the person to whom the notice has been issued fails to make that payment to the department, he shall be treated as the defaulter. So without giving the amount to the department, if you are paying it to defaulter, automatically you will become the defaulter. So officer at any time amend or revoke the notice, extend the time for making any payment in pursuance of such notice. Any person who is making the payment shall be deemed to have made the payment under the authority of the defaulter. Such payment by third party shall be considered to be made in good and sufficient discharge of his liability to the defaulter. That means if you pay to the department, it is treated as good as you paid the amount to the defaulter. Tomorrow defaulter cannot make you liable, don't worry. Okay, so the amount directed to be paid, where the amount due or held by the third party is more than the amount due by the defaulter, to the extent of the amount due by the defaulter. Suppose the defaulter has to pay us 10 lakhs, you are holding 15 lakhs, pay us only 10 lakhs, to that extent only you pay, we will not ask you to pay full amount. Okay, where the amount due or held by the third party is less than or equal to the amount due by the defaulter, then whole of the amount will be due or held. Suppose defaulter is liable to pay us 10 lakhs, you are holding just 4 lakhs, that entire 4 lakhs you are supposed to pay to us, simple. Next, if third party pays the amount to the defaulter instead of paying it to the government, so after servicing the notice, he shall be personally liable to the government to the extent of amount due by the defaulter or amount discharged to the defaulter, whichever is less. Suppose we have given you notice to pay us whatever you are liable to pay to him, all the stuff. He is paying full amount to the defaulter only, that much, or how much is liable. For example, you are paying to defaulter 2 lakhs, but defaulter is liable to us 10 lakhs. So now you are liable to us how much? Only 2 lakhs only. 2 lakhs or 10 lakhs, whatever you have paid to the defaulter, or whatever is due from the defaulter, whichever is less. Hope it is clear for you. Next, the proper officer will give GST DRC 14 to the person who has made the payment as acknowledgement, the certificate, and such person shall not be made liable for any payment if he is proving that, sir, I am not holding any money for him, sir, or I am not likely to hold any money of him, sir, or at the time of service of notice I did not hold any money or not likely to hold any money, sir. So all that stuff. So we gave the notice, we have initiated garnishee proceedings because of what? Because you are due or likely to become due, or you are holding something or likely to hold something for the defaulter. If you are proving that no sir, this is not the case, then obviously you are not liable to make payment to us. If you are proving no sir, I am not going to have his money, or I am not going to be liable for him, all that stuff like that, if you prove, then you are not supposed to make any payment to the department. That is what the concept. Next, recovery by sale of movable or immovable property. Sir, again, sir, we can detain any movable or immovable property of the taxpayer, and if any part of the amount payable or cost of distress of the property for keeping the property is not paid within 30 days, proper officer will sell the property. Okay, and with the proceeds whatever has been recovered, he will adjust the amount payable, the cost incurred, and any surplus amount, if it is remaining in our hand, we will return the surplus amount to the defaulter. For example, we have his immovable property worth 1 crore, so we will detain the property within 30 days. We will see whether he will make the payment or not, all that stuff, or cost of holding that property, all that, whether he is paying that or not. So if he is not doing these payments, we will sell the immovable property. Whatever recovered, we will adjust for the liability and the cost for selling that property, and any surplus amount if we keep in hand, that we will return it to the person written to the defaulter. But before that, what the proper officer, as I told you already, sir, with respect to goods, same story here also. He should maintain the list of movable and immovable properties and their market values, everything, and he should issue an order of attachment or distrain in GST DRC 16, sorry, prohibiting any transaction with regard to sale of such movable or immovable property. He will give a notice GST DRC 16 order where prohibiting further sale of such goods or immovable property. Okay. Next, in case if it is an attachment or distrain of immovable property, that order, as I told, GST DRC 16, sir, this will be attached on the property confirming the till the confirmation of the sale. If it is related to movable property, the proper officer shall seize the property and take its custody. Obvious. Next, any stamp duty or any other fees or taxes payable on transfer of such property, that shall be paid by the transferee to the government. So whoever is buying, that fellow will pay. Any person raising any claim or objection, no sir, this is not the property of the defaulter, this is my property, like that, brother of the defaulter or sister of the defaulter, wife of the defaulter is coming, then the property in question, the proper officer will investigate and postpone the sale till he gets the clarity. And the person making the claim or objection must give any evidence to the proper officer regarding supporting their claim, and proper officer finds the merits in the claims or objection, then he will release the property. Then he feels, yes, this is not the property of the defaulter, this is the property of the wife or property of the brother or sister, like that. If the proper officer comes to a conclusion based on the evidences submitted, then what he will do, he will release the property. Otherwise he will reject their claim and proceed for sale through auction, including e-auction. As I already told you before, for movable property also, proper officer will cancel the auction process if the defaulter is paying before the issue of notice of auction. Okay, before the issue of notice of auction, if the defaulter is coming and making the payment, then the proper officer will cancel the auction. So, sir, let us assume that fellow has not paid, we are going for the auction. So the amount realized, sir, the amount realized by selling that goods or conveyance or movable or immovable property, first will be apportioned against the administration cost which has been involved in the recovery process. Second, it will be apportioned against the amount to be recovered or to the payment of penalty under section 129. Thirdly, what we will do, any other amounts due from the defaulter as per CGST, SGS tax, all that stuff. Any balance still we have in case of registered person, that will be credited to his e-cash ledger. In case of unregistered person, we will transfer it to his bank account. Okay, so first, whatever the cost involved in the recovery process, for that we will adjust the amount recovered. Second, for the liabilities. Third, any other liabilities, any other dues, all that stuff. So second is the liability as per the order, including penalties, all that. Thirdly, any other liabilities are there, that one. And finally, any balance is left. If that fellow is a registered fellow, we will transfer to his cash ledger. If he is unregistered, we will give it to his bank account. Sir, where it is not possible to pay any balance of the sale proceeds, within a period of 6 months from the date of sale, the proper officer may allow such balance of sale proceeds shall be deposited with the fund, consumer welfare fund, where the property to be sold is negotiable instrument or share in any corporation. Then proper officer may, instead of selling it by public auction, he can sell it through a broker also. He can take the help of any stock broker, etc. That is what we are trying to tell. The broker shall deposit the sale proceeds to the government after reducing his commission. Obvious. If there is any amount remaining, then it shall be paid to the defaulter. Any officer or other person who has the duty to perform with respect to this sale will not acquire any interest in the property. That is important point. Suppose you are the officer who is involved in conducting the auction, etc., etc., you should not acquire the interest. It means you should not buy that. Sir, this property is good, I will buy it for a cheap price, like that you should not do. Okay. And no such sale will take place on Sundays or other general holidays recognized by government, and he may seek assistance from jurisdictional police station for conducting the auction also. That is how he will recover. Next, this is one mode of recovery, by selling the movable or immovable property. Another mode of recovery is like as if there is land arrears due. That way also we can recover. So recovery as land arrears of land revenue. Here what will happen, the proper officer will send the certificate in GST DRC 18 to the district collector, in which the defaulter is owning a property or residing or carrying the business, and the district collector will recover the amount of tax due as if that is an arrears of land revenue to the district collector, or that can be recovered as a fine imposed by district magistrate. Next, or it can be recovered through execution of court order or decree, as if the amount is payable in the execution of any decree in the civil court. So accordingly that will be, sorry, one second. where any amount is payable to the defaulter in execution of any decree of the civil code, that amount we can ask. See, in the civil code, the defaulter has won some case and some amount has to be paid to him. That amount can be recovered. Okay, so we will give direction to the court in GST DRC 15 asking the court, sir, the court as per the provisions of the code of civil procedure execute the attached decree and credit the net proceeds of the settlement to the amount recoverable to the government account. So simple, whatever has to be paid to the defaulter through the order of civil code, that will be paid to the government. Recovery through any securities, recovery from any company in liquidation, all the stuff. So these are obvious ways. Next, other provisions governing the recovery of tax, nothing that greatly involved, you can just ignore these things. Next, some clarification on legal position of voluntary payment of taxes during the course of, see, in the course of inspection, search or investigation, what is the legal position with respect to voluntary payment? So taxpayers may deposit their partial or full GST liability during the search, inspection, investigation. However, some taxpayers have accused officers of using force and coercion to recover their GST liability. So the legal position of voluntary tax payment has been clarified to ensure correct law compliance. That means during inspection, search or this investigation, generally voluntary payment of tax has to be done by the taxpayers, but the officers are forcing them to make voluntary payment. That was the complaint given. So because of that, for the recovery of taxes not paid, short paid or all that stuff, sir, only after following the due legal process, issuing the notice and subsequent confirmation of demand by adjudicating authority, you have to proceed. Tax officers may not recover the tax dues during such inspection or investigation on account of any issues detected during proceedings. However, if the taxpayers wants to make any voluntary tax liability payment, then they can do that either before or during the proceedings. The tax officer should inform taxpayers, sir, there is an option for voluntary payment like that, but they should not force the taxpayer. Okay, so that is what the point. Next, sir, there is an option to allow you to make payments even in installments also, the tax payments, all the stuff. So any taxable person who is asking for any extension of time limit for the payment or allowing for payment in installments will make an application to the commissioner after calling for a report from the jurisdictional officer regarding this fellow's financial ability, that is the taxpayer's financial ability. After getting the report, then after considering the same, commissioner may extend the time for payment, or he can also allow you to pay in installments, but maximum 24 installments, and that too under section 50 interest. You should pay EMI option, that's all. Okay, but maximum 24 installments only. But please understand, if there is any default in payment of any one installment also, then the taxable person will be required to pay the whole outstanding balance on such date of default itself without further notice. Okay, so cases where installments are not available, so this is first thing. What is that? If you fail paying one installment also, you are supposed to pay balance all the amount in one shot, that immediately on the default. No further notice is required to be given to you. Cases where installments are not available. What are the cases where installments are not available? Sir, the cases where installments are not available are, he has already defaulted, for which the recovery is in process. Next, he has not been allowed to make payment in installments in the preceding financial year, so this financial year also not allowed. Amount of which installation sort is less than 25,000. If it is less than 25,000 also, please don't come and ask for installments. These are the cases. So one is already defaulted, because of which recovery is in process. Second one, sir, in last financial year he was not allowed to make installment payment, so this financial year also he is not eligible. Next, amount is less than 25,000. These cases installments are not available. Next, see, understand, any person after amount has become due from him creates a charge or parts with the property. That means any amount liability has been due by him, that has been decided, he should not mortgage the property, he should not sell the property, all that stuff. Okay, so by sale, mortgage, exchange or any other mode of transfer, okay, in favor of any other person with an intention of defrauding the government revenue, so such a charge or transfer or whatever has been done shall become void. But however, one second guys, sorry, so long you are not able to see the notes, but it's okay, fine. So such a charge or transfer, whatever is there, is void unless the charge or transfer is made for adequate consideration and in good faith, and without notice of pendency of such proceedings under this act, or without notice of such tax or any sum payable by the said person, or with the previous permission of the proper officer. If you are doing, then that charge or transfer is valid. That means simple, just to escape the tax dues or to cheat the government, don't make any sale of your existing properties. Okay, that is what the concept. Next, tax to be the first charge on any property, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any law for time being in force, otherwise provided in IBC 2016, amount payable generally by the taxable person or any in the way of any tax, interest, penalty, all the stuff which is liable to be paid to government shall be the first charge on the property. Simple, sir. The first charge on the property will be obviously normally the tax. So government, if it wants to like secure their revenue, all that stuff, sir, what they will do, the commissioner will provisionally attach the property. So during the pendency of any proceedings, recovery proceedings, they can do that. The only condition is that commissioner should be of the opinion that for the purpose of protecting the interest of government revenue, he has to provisionally attach the property. Now he will do that, and he will pass that order in writing attaching any property, including bank accounts. And this provisional attachment shall cease to have effect after a period of 1 year. So within 1 year, obviously they will settle the things and close the transaction. They cannot provisionally attach the property for more than 1 year. Provisional attachment of property, all the stuff, so we have seen here. You can just go through that. Attachment of debts and shares, etc., attachment of property, all these things are normal things. You can just go with that. Nothing to explain here actually. If at all I am doing, only I should keep on reading that. So fine, so long we have come, I will just read it out for you so that you will feel like okay, one revision is over here. So provisional attachment of property, if you see guys, I repeat here, there is no concept, nothing involved. I am just highlighting, reading the key points for you people, so that you will also save some time, or you will not feel bored of reading those pages again. Normally for provisional attachment, commissioner shall pass the order mentioning the details of the property which is provisionally attached. He shall send a copy to the revenue authorities or transportation authority or any other authority to place encumbrance on that said property, and the said movable or immovable property shall be removed only on the written instructions from the commissioner or after the expiry of 1 year from the date of provisional attachment, till whichever is earlier. Till that, nobody has the power to remove that property. A copy of order of provisional attachment of the property, including bank account, shall also be sent to the person whose property is being attached. For him also we have to inform, no, yes, your property has been attached, like that. So where the property is attached is perishable or hazardous in nature, and if the taxable person pays the amount equal to the market price of that property or the amount that is due from him, whichever is lower, then that property will be released by the officer. If the taxable person fails to pay, the commissioner may dispose the property and the amount so realized shall be adjusted against his liability, that is obvious. And any person whose property is attached at any time file an objection to the effect that property attached was or is not liable to attachment, the commissioner obviously will consider that submission and give him opportunity of being heard, and if he finds yes, this objection is valid, then he will release the said property. Otherwise, what if the commissioner is also satisfied that property is no longer liable for attachment, then also he will release the property and he will issue the order accordingly. Next, attachment of debts and shares. Please understand, a debt not secured by any negotiable instrument or share in a corporation or any other movable property which is not in the possession of the defaulter, except for the property deposited in or in the custody of any court, shall be attached by written order in the prescribed form, prohibiting, see, except whatever is there in the court custody, any other property which is not in the possession of the defaulter. Sir, if it is a debt, we will give to the creditor from recovering the debt and the debtor from making the payment until the receipt of further order from the proper officer. If it is a creditor, we are giving order to the creditor, sir, until we order you should not recover the debt, or if it is a debtor, until we order you should not make the payment, like that, sir, we can give the order. In case of a share, sir, we can give an instruction, the person in whose name the share may be standing, from transferring the same or receiving any dividend. So the proper officer may give an order against attaching the dividend or attaching the sale of that shares without the proper officer's approval. In case of any movable property, yes, the same, from giving it to the defaulter. Sir, the person who is in possession, they don't give it to the defaulter until we give the further order. So that way they can give the order. As I already told you, sir, debtor making payment to the proper officer is deemed to be paid to the defaulter, all that. Next, attachment of property in custody of courts or public officers, also we can do that. Attachment of interest in partnership also we can do. Okay. Next, continuation and validation of certain recovery proceedings. Any notice of demand in respect of government dues served on taxable person or any other person, and any appeal revision application is filed or other proceedings are initiated in respect of such government dues, then such government dues may be enhanced or reduced in such appeal, revision or other proceedings. So as we have already seen, sir, any notice of demand, all that stuff has been challenged, has been went for any appeal or revision application, etc., etc., sir, that can be enhanced or reduced in such appeal or revision or other proceedings. If in the case government dues are enhanced, the commissioner shall serve a notice. For example, you went for an appeal and then they have understood that no, this amount has to be enhanced, and if it has been enhanced, then the commissioner should serve the notice on the taxable person or any other person in respect of enhanced amount later on for the notice of demand already served on the taxable person or any other person before such appeal, revision or any other proceedings. Then recovery of such amount would be continued from the stage at which initial proceedings stood. There is no need to issue a fresh notice of demand. Okay. Notice of demand only for enhanced amount. For example, earlier they gave notice for 10 lakhs. Now the in the appeal it has been determined 12 lakhs. So for 12 lakhs, if you give the fresh notice, sufficient, and the recovery of that 10 lakhs will begin from the place where it has been left. In case the government dues are reduced, then in any appeal or revision or any other proceedings, then the commissioner is not required to issue any fresh notice of the demand on the taxable person. He shall intimate the reduction to the taxable person. Earlier it was 10 lakhs, now it became 9 lakhs. Then you intimate it to the taxable person and also to the appropriate authority with whom the recovery proceedings are pending. Any recovery proceedings intended prior to the disposal of such appeal, revision application or other proceedings may be continued, obviously, from such stage where it stood before such disposal. Okay, simple. So these are the things. So key points, section 73, 74, 75, 76, all these things we have clearly discussed, and the recovery proceedings to the extent whatever is relevant, we have discussed everything, and certain pages just for you people I have read it out. So with that we have quickly revised this particular chapter. So hope you have enjoyed revising this. Share this video with your friends who are writing the upcoming attempts and wants to revise demands and recovery in no time. So hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and always I tell you, please make sure you are enjoying your preparation. That is very, very important. Wishing you all the very best from my end. This is your Mr. GST signing off. Jai Hind.